So this video is probably going to be my most controversial video I've ever made on the channel. And the problem with this is that there's two things. There's facts and the lies that we tell ourselves to try and dispute the facts, or as I like to call it, coping. And as the GTA community, we're all very familiar with that, aren't we? Now you may be thinking right now, Cyberboy, what are you on about? And I'll tell you. That's why we're here. The Vice City Next Gen Edition is an incredible project by a team in Russia that have painstakingly reworked GTA Vice City and ported it into GTA 4's game engine. And honestly, it looks great, and I'm genuinely crazily impressed with the work they've done. It's probably one of the coolest projects I've ever seen from the GTA community. But that's where the positives from this tend to end, and this is why this video is so controversial, but hear me out. Modding games is fine, most of the time. Stuff like retexturing games and adding new vehicles into games is absolutely fine, because for example, adding a Nissan GTR into GTA 5 or GTA 4, whatever it might be, isn't a market replacement for someone going out there and buying and driving a Nissan GTR. And that term, market replacement, is a generalization, but a very good and easy to understand generalization. And this sums up a very rough basis of copyright law. Does product A affect product B in the marketplace? For example, the very famous case of H3H3 re-uploading someone else's video and cutting it meant that they won the case because the original video didn't act as a market replacement for the original video that was on YouTube, because the context and the audience and the intent of the video was very different. So you can have original content, and as long as the context is changed and it becomes a different piece of work, it's absolutely fine. And of course, this is all on the basis that it isn't going towards the same audience as the original piece of work. Now we'll get onto why this is important in a minute. It will make sense. Now Revolution Team, the team behind GTA Vice City's next gen project, uploaded a trailer of their project to YouTube. Not the trailer that we see now, the original trailer that was uploaded about a week or two ago. The trailer was listed in the gaming category for GTA Vice City, and it contained licensed music from GTA Vice City, and it contained the Vice City original logo, which was the legal term defaced to include the words next gen underneath it. And also the description of the content contained funding links to help the developers. Now, one copyright claim on a video isn't enough to nuke and remove a whole YouTube channel. There has to be 3 claims in a 90-day period. And if there's one claim, we'll see a notice such as this on a piece of content or on a channel, and it will tell you who submitted the claim. For example, when Take-Two took down my video and later retracted the claim and reinstated the video, it said that it was taken down by Take-Two Interactive. But when claims are submitted from different parties and a video or channel is deleted, you get a more general notice such as this, the same one that we saw on the Revolution Team's YouTube channel. So it's more likely that multiple claims were submitted from different parties quite quickly. Often this is done so quickly that when you wake up, the channel is just gone. Now the developers blaming Take-Two for them committing copyright infringement is a bit crazy. Forget the morality and ethics, we'll cover that later, but just from a legal standpoint, the trailer did violate multiple IPs. Just because we like the project that the Revolution Team made doesn't mean it wasn't copyright infringement. Now, unfortunately, as much as I love the Next Gen project, however good it is doesn't mean it's not copyright infringement. And originally, the Vice City Next Gen project was going to be a mod for GTA 4, but because the developers have an issue with Take-Two over the copyright claims they received on their YouTube channel, they've decided to no longer make it a mod, and instead give the entire game away for free. So now it's no longer a mod and a grey area, it's straight up piracy. Don't get me wrong, originally it was multiple violations of different IPs. It was problematic at the very least, but now it's straight up illegal. No ifs, no buts, no caveats, no additional context needed. It is piracy. Now, if I downloaded the project, retextured it, and removed the next gen logo and removed Rev Team's credit from it, and started asking you all to download it from my Patreon, you'd all call me out for not giving credit or paying Revolution Team. You'd all kick off. But that's because the biggest justification I've seen from the community is that the definitive edition sucked. And this was the remaster Rockstar should have done, and the remaster we all deserved. And you're all 100% correct. I agree fully. The work that Revolution Team have done is honestly incredible, and we should be very, very grateful for the work they've done. The definitive edition was absolutely dog shit, especially on release. It was awful, and it did not do the original games justice. I mean, for me, especially Vice City, you can see in the background I've got games on display. For me, Vice City's in my top 3 Grand Theft Autos, and I pretty much worship the game. I've got a Vice City light up there, which I never actually turn on for videos. I should start doing that. But for me, Vice City is probably the most important game in the series for me. But essentially, as a fan base, we deserve better than what Rockstar gave us. But, and this is such a big but, does us deserving better mean that all of the artists whose music featured in the game deserve not to get paid? Does this mean that although 95% of the game is the original game that was developed by Rockstar with the same storyline, the same voiceovers, all of the work that went into creating all of that, does that mean that Rockstar should never be paid or credited legally or even morally? Morally, you can answer the question for yourselves, but legally, this is wrong. I'm not saying I like it, but it is the truth. Now, the biggest people that are in support of piracy and intellectual property theft are people that don't own any intellectual property. That is also a truth. I've yet to see a single music artist, or actual artists in terms of painting or digital art or YouTube creator, advocate for the theft of their content. Now, the biggest question I've seen raised recently is, why won't Take-Two just work with Revolution Team? And I've seen like thousands of replies on Twitter of people discussing this, and I can't believe that people aren't talking about the elephant in the room. The project's made by a team in Russia. Even if Take-Two Interactive and Rockstar Games loved the project, there's nothing they could do. If they're caught at any point from a court system or a legal system working directly with a team in Russia, which is a country that's currently sanctioned from any country in the Western world doing trade with, the legal ramifications would be absolutely huge. Now, we're not going to get into the geopolitics and all of that. Like, it's just a fact that you cannot work with companies in Russia at the moment. Period, or individuals for that matter. Whether I agree with it or not does not affect the outcome here. But this project being available for free now acts as a direct market replacement for the definitive editions. Defective editions. And Obe Vermage, the technical director on the original Vice City, has come out and pretty much vocalized the same stance. Although the work is brilliant, it's still piracy. Now, over the past month, I've actually been in conversations with one of the artists whose music originally featured in Vice City's soundtrack, because I'm trying to actually license their music as a new outro song for my videos. And they've shared the same sentiment. Rockstar had to pay a lot of money to get these songs in the original Vice City, and the artist also made revenue from the soundtracks being featured online. And Rockstar actually relicensed most of the songs for the definitive editions. However, they couldn't license some of the songs, as over the past 20 years, the songs were relicensed and sold to third parties. And some of these third parties, and I know this from my own experience, they want up to millions of dollars to relicense songs. Songs that would have cost like $5,000 back in the day, they've now been sold to big publishers that want a lot of money. So obviously, and you can hate Rockstar and Take-Two for this, but they're not going to pay millions of dollars to have a game featured in definitive editions, especially when there's hundreds and hundreds of songs. The economy of scale doesn't work. And I've seen a lot of people attack Take-Two Interactive and Rockstar Games for not having the songs that were in the original game being featured in the definitive editions, but no one's willing to call out Revolution Team for not licensing the songs in their game either, especially because the version that Rev Team are creating isn't a mass-produced version. It wouldn't cost them anywhere near the same amount of money that it costs Rockstar Games. They could use online services to license it per 1,000 downloads, which would be effectively, well, I wouldn't say cheap, but way cheaper. But you can't set a moral and ethical standard of what should be paid to be licensed and then change who that applies to. Now, I've had a few conversations with people who disagree with me on this, and I've tried to understand both sides of the argument. And what I can see is that people want to support small developers, and I fully do support small developers too. And a lot of these people really love to dislike and hate Take-Two Interactive, which, you know, people can have their opinions, and that's fine. But at what point does a small developer go from a small developer to a big developer? Where's the line where piracy is not okay and then piracy is okay? Where do we say that stealing someone's original game code is fine because they're now a big developer? Maybe that line is when Rockstar released the definitive editions. Who knows? What I'm saying is we have to define where that line is. More to the point, it was Rockstar that commissioned the remasters, not Take-Two Interactive. And I've noticed a lot of people shifting that conversation to blame Take-Two Interactive because they don't want to think Rockstar were the ones that were responsible. But it was. Grove Street Games was commissioned by Rockstar, not Take-Two. Now, my conclusion to all of this is that I'm not glazing Take-Two Interactive. They suck. They genuinely suck. And for those people that know me outside of YouTube, you all know why I don't like Take-Two Interactive. They do suck. They really do suck. But, and this is a big but, as someone that makes digital content online and has a digital asset, I can't be vocally supporting piracy. As someone who knows people that have made software and apps and built products, if those ideas were stolen when they were smaller, they wouldn't be big companies now. And I see so many people advocating for the theft of intellectual property, yet every single person that advocates for intellectual property either one, doesn't own their own intellectual property, two, are more than happy to submit copyright claims on YouTube when someone steals their intellectual property. I think we have to actually start drawing a line over what is IP theft and what isn't IP theft. I love the work that these guys have done recreating Vice City and making it look as beautiful as they have. However, that is not a get out of jail free card for just stealing someone else's project. Now, in an ideal world, this whole moral dilemma would have been sorted if they'd reached out to Take-Two Interactive or Rockstar to ask to collaborate on the project. I haven't seen any evidence of that yet. Or if there wasn't restrictions between Take-Two and working with the team in Russia. Maybe the situation would be different. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe we'd still be having the same conversation. But I still think that the nuance and complications of this matter go far beyond Take-Two bad, indie team good. So to conclude this video, I want to end on this thought. Nothing takes away from how incredible this project is. And you can be angry at Take-Two for not working with this team. Absolutely fine and totally understandable. Even though they couldn't if they wanted to, but I get it. It makes sense. However, what this team should have done is recreated a version of Vice City and made it somewhat passable to not be considered in a court of law or market replacement. Clearly, this team have the talent to do it. I mean, from a legal standpoint, what they're doing is straight up illegal, but from a moral standpoint, it's tricky because I know that, well, I like to think I know that their ethics were definitely in the right place. I think we all like to think that's the case, and they probably were. But as someone that wants to support the gaming industry and doesn't think that people's intellectual property should ever be violated, this is tricky for me. This is a tricky one. Like, how do I support the gaming industry and encourage people to want to buy games and buy software and support the industry while screaming from the rooftops that piracy is okay? I understand that this is going to be controversial, and to be honest, this is probably the only video where I'm not going to read the comments on. People have asked me for my thoughts on this since it was first announced, and when it was a mod, I was far more supportive of it, but when it became a full market replacement for the original game, that's where it got a bit techie. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.